refs. How do they miss that? And yes, the NFL playoffs with Bob Ryan, Rick Arizona, Israel Gutierrez, and Bill Plaschke. Let's go around the hall.
The Chargers are playing a home game.
Say my name like that. I can't get up in the name.
William Grover Plaschke.
Chargers should be at home.
Say Bill Plaschke.
Bill Plaschke. It sounds like Bill Plaschke
Thank you.
from SNL, right?
Thank you.
Which your daughter works for, so that actually works. We'll get to that in a second. We had the NFL playoffs and primetime music queued up, but pardon the interruption. We have to start with this. What a bananas game. What a bananas shot. A shot made possible after Golden State blew a 20-point second-half lead at home. Put that to the side for a second. A shot made possible after referees missed an enormous human, put his entire body out of bounds 4 times, splayed out like a praying mantis. Put that to the side for a second. For Harden to go for 40-plus again, a 40-plus triple-double again, for Daryl Morey to say, with a straight face, quote, you could argue for him as the best offensive player of all time, end quote. We got to start with that. Best offensive player of all time. If only we had an NBA historian here in the Hall of Fame. Oh, hello, Bob Ryan. Good to have you here. In terms of what we just saw, what did we just see?
Daryl Morey overstates the case. What he should have said is this.
Oh, you think?
James Harden is on a roll such as I have never seen in the contemporary NBA. Reminds me of some of the things that I've heard about from guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. But and stop right there. All right, the game is different. And he has some advantages that were not available to Michael Jordan, starting with the fact that he took 23 three-point shots last night. If Michael Jordan were playing at today's game and he had the opportunity to take 23, he would make the same percentage or better than James Harden, all right? So it's a different game. You give him his due. What he's doing is remarkable. 6 straight 40s. Throw in 15 assists. But
yes, throw those assists in. Throw in the
case.
40-plus triple-double. I mean, this 12-game run here, where the Rockets are 11-1 in it, Bob, where he's on this. Put that in perspective, if you may.
Oh, no, he's carrying the team on his shoulders as much as you can in a concentrated period of time. All right? I'm giving him his full due. It's the regular season. Wink, wink, okay? That's fine. And I'm not denigrating it, but we all know that there's another level that he must ascend to.
And it's 5 straight 40, so a deduction right there for our Hall of Famer. But that's okay. You got a big 8-point lead. Frank Isola, what are we seeing with James Harden? What are we seeing with his game last night?
And remember, too, when we talk about LeBron and the roster that he carries, whether it's in Cleveland or L.A., we give him all the credit in the world. Look at that roster last night. No Chris Paul and what Harden has done. And Bob, was talking about the rule changes. Think about this. There was a recent 3-game span where James Harden attempted 58 free throws. 58 free throws in 3 games, including 27 against Memphis. Michael Jordan would spend his life at the foul line in today's NBA.
Okay.
But I definitely think Harden's one of the greatest of all time. But Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, Wilt, they all have to be in that
Israel
conversation.
Gutierrez, you've covered this game. You've been on the sidelines for this game, for this network, for the last 10-plus years. Best offensive player?
It's way too early to even discuss that. But in a league that features Kevin Durant remaining in his prime, Steph Curry still in his prime, and LeBron James, James Harden is the most feared offensive player, and that is saying a lot. And he is defining for everyone what it means to be in your bag. Because this guy last year had all his stuff going for him, and this year apparently has decided to make all of these shots even more difficult. I understand everything Bob is saying about the game being different, but James Harden has to take the most difficult threes I've ever seen
the
before.
game winner last night.
And he
You're
makes some
right.
of them, including the game winner last night. That step-back move is becoming impossible. It's either you just have to throw your hands up and say, I hope he misses that. So there's absolutely something to be said about the greatness of him as an offensive player. All time, we got to let this
And now, Plaschke, on that quote from Daryl Morey, we talked about Michael Jordan. You were front row for Kobe Bryant in his run, 9 straight it was, right? 9 straight 40-point games.
Yes.
So how do you compare the two? Do you compare the two? Do you want to just talk about that shot that he hit to win the game? That's fine, too.
There's no comparison to Harden and Kobe and Michael Jordan. To James Harden, if you want to be the greatest offensive player of all time, let's make a big shot in May. Let's make a big shot in June. Just look at his last 2 postseasons. He's shooting less than 30%.
That's true. That's true. At some point, we have to
make a big shot when it counts. I'm sorry. He's great now. He's always great now. But what happens when it's crunch time? That's when Kobe stood up. That's when MJ stood up. That's when Wilton and Kareem stood up.
Can anybody just enjoy the game that we saw last night? We all recognize it's January and it's not June. Can we just enjoy what it was? Wasn't this a game that made you just sit back and say, yes, please, I'll take 7 of these at the end of the season? Gutierrez, what did you see last night from the comeback for the Rockets specifically?
Well, it makes me think. It's not even like the Warriors are not on their game. Draymond Green is obviously having a bad half of a season so far. He might be able to turn it on. But just the idea that this Rockets team, with just James Harden as the centerpiece, again, no Chris Paul, what have you, with just James Harden and being that level of unstoppable. Like, this is the same type of stuff they said about Steph Curry. Why can't you beat that team? Oh, because you can't stop Steph. Oh, because the defense's eyes are all on Steph and other people get open. Well, when James is doing this, and he's going to continue to do this unless he gets hurt some way, because you saw that, right? He's going for that second MVP. If he keeps this up, they can beat anyone.
Yeah, we had that conversation yesterday. Like, that was a bad thing that he said he was going for the MVP. If he's going for the MVP, that's good for the Rockets. If he's the MVP, that would be a good thing for his team. Bill, I'm sensing you're going to say this was more about the Warriors last night because the Rockets can't prove anything.
Why are you sensing that?
Because the Rockets can't prove anything to you for 4 months from now, so this is only about the Warriors.
You sensed exactly correct. The Warriors are now 156-1 under Steve Kerr when they've led by 20 points. This was a big loss for them. This is a kind of loss. This is a kind of, even though that I've been saying all year they can turn it on in April and May, this is a team that these kind of games, these teams usually get up for. They've never blown a lead like this before. It's the worst halftime blown lead in about 15 years in franchise history. They weren't helping on defense. They self-proclaimed that they got lazy. They weren't, trusting each other. A lot of ISO with Durant. Something's up with these guys now. This makes it official for me.
Do you agree with that? Can something be up with the team that's won the championships in the span that they have in January? Can something be up with them?
There is mounting evidence that the Warriors have indeed entered a new phase, as Bill suggests. I think no question now. Is it something which they cannot? No, absolutely. Is there something that they can't emerge from? No, not necessarily. And here's one other thing I want to throw out there. There's an X factor out there, and you know what it is. It's 7 feet tall. And sooner or later, Boogie Cousins is coming. I have no idea what state he'll be in, what effect he'll have, but it is not inconceivable that we'll have a very different discussion in April, and he'll have something to do with it.
Of course. We don't know what that is, but we'll continue to have this discussion. I'm going to bet we're going to have it before
positive
April.
one,
I bet we'll have it the end of January, the start of February, the end of February, the start of March. Mute. There's something I got to talk about. It's this call, this missed call. It's just blowing my mind. This is the top 3 worst call or missed call I think I've ever seen in any sport. Durant set up residents out of bounds. Not only did he come close to reestablishing inbounds, he was clearly out of bounds. Couldn't be reviewed because no call was made to begin with. How big a problem is that for the NBA, Israel?
I mean, that is a terrible missed call, and it's just that. It's not a problem. It's not a trend. That right there is a horrible missed call. If you want to talk about a trend, it could be late in games or in overtime where referees get a little bit too comfortable because things can be reviewed. And so even though you're staring at something, you're thinking in the back of your head, oh, okay, wait, if it's close, we'll review it. And so you overlook something as obvious as that. That was just a horrible
Frank,
call.
when you realize what was in play there, that led to what could have been the game-winning shot for the Warriors. There's 30 seconds left in the game. Does that have to be reviewable?
Yeah, and think about it. If Harden doesn't make that shot at the end, this is all we're talking about today is the Rockets really getting jobbed. I go back to what I've been saying before. In a situation like that, give the coach a challenge timeout. James Harden was all over it. James Harden knew that Kevin Durant was out of bounds. He could have turned to Mike D'Antoni, challenged that play. They challenge it. It's Rocket ball, tie game, 132, 28
I said this 2 weeks ago, though, when Harden had the 5-step travel that was missed as well. I mean, a referee should just go to a monitor and review it on his own and then beg for forgiveness later. Because once you realize and you're looking at the monitor and you see it's completely wrong, you can't be upset about that if you're the league, if they change the call because it was so wrong. We've been Horn. We're going to move on to the second headline of the night from the NBA, DeMar DeRozan and what he did to the Raptors, and San Antonio fans and what they did to Kawhi, and what I'm going to do to this panel, because yesterday's panel, I know this is mutes by association, but come on. They said majority cheers. They said San Antonio fans were too classy to boo. I don't care about that. Of course, it can be true that they're classy. Booing doesn't make you unclassy, but it was endless boos last night. Although the game did end with a moment where Leonard and Popovich hugged after. Spurs smoked the Raptors. Frank, did the Spurs fans go too far or just far enough for you?
Well, I'm of the belief you paid for a ticket. As long as you're not throwing anything on the court, using profanity, you want to boo or cheer, go right ahead. And, Tony, this goes back to last season. Remember in the playoffs where he didn't show up for any of the games. So I know last night they were trying to make it seem like a media-created story. Was it media-created when Greg Popovich, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, David Robinson at some point over the past 10 months came out and were critical of Kawhi Leonard? That was not the media. That was the media reporting on stuff the Spurs were saying. That's what the fans were
Nothing gets you guys back up more than when you think there's a media-created story. Bob Ryan, what did you hear from the fans last night? Were you okay with it?
His actions or non-actions brought all this on himself. I go back to sticks and stones, the old childhood saying, and break my bones. As long as nobody actually threw stuff, everything's legit. And he brought it on himself. I have no sympathy for him
Bill
whatsoever.
Plaschke?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad they booed him, Frank, because this is the flip side of players being empowered to determine their own destinations in the league and saying, I want here, I want out, I want here. Fans have the power then to say, well, we're sorry you're gone. You shouldn't be here. We don't like you anymore. I think it's all fair.
After the game, you heard Popovich say, for the first time it felt like in the 8 months, he's his own man. He can do what he wants to do. Were you all right with the way that was handled after the game opposed to the way it's been handled the last 6 months, Israel?
I don't know. It seemed like Greg definitely had a message to get out there. It seemed like he was just kind of softening it up a little bit because he didn't want to look like the bad guy. I don't really know why we were holding these Spurs fans to higher standards. They got a classy organization, a championship organization, and they can boo all they want, especially because it wasn't just a guy who wanted out. It was a guy who basically torched their whole season on his way out. So it's perfect.
I don't measure whether fans have class or not, whether they boo or not. I don't never believe in that one. All right, taking a break right here. Gutierrez 14, Isola 13. Some might say that's a media-created story that they're leading going into buyer's zone. Stick around. NFL playoffs. The NFL playoffs coming up next.
Buy two.
You by Chase. Coming to you from the Seaport District at Pier 17.
And now the NFL playoffs. Let's get in there chronologically. Chronological clock is ticking like this. Colts-Texans Saturday afternoon. Feels like this is the first playoff game the Texans have ever played with their starting quarterback. Deshaun Watson versus Andrew Luck for the third time this year. Bill, which QB do you want Saturday, and how is this game won?
I'll take the QB with the third lowest pressure rate as opposed to the QB with the second highest pressure rate. Andrew Luck will have time to pick apart the Texans. He's the second QBR in the league this year. Andrew Luck, that's how they win it.
You've got the Colts winning this game. Gutierrez, how about you?
Yes.
Yeah, but with Clowney and Watt, I know Luck's been getting rid of the ball faster. I know he hasn't been getting sacked, but I'd rather have that option. It's a little bit more dynamic. Deshaun Watson has taken over games himself this year. I'm going to take
it. Sounds like you'd rather have the Texans defense. Okay, and how about you, Frank Isola?
The Colts have sacked Deshaun Watson 12 times in the 2 games. He holds the ball too long. That's going to be the key to this game. I like Luck a lot more.
Another for the Colts, too, in this game? Wow, 2 Colts, 1 Texans. Bob Ryan, where are you?
I've been consistent all year in doubting the Texans, even win after win, week after week.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? They won the division. They had the home game.
Believing in them now.
Consistent in doubting them.
I'm not going to start believing in them now. No.
Okay, so that's 3 for Indianapolis in this game and 1 for Houston. I'm not surprised. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. 3 for Indianapolis, 1 for Houston. We'll move on. Seahawks, Cowboys.
Yeah, there you go.
It has 0 impact on the game, but it's fun to watch. The last time these two met in the playoffs, they bobbled extra point hold for Romo. Such a brutal way to end the game, huh? Dak Prescott's going to be holding the ball with a vice grip tomorrow night. It's Prescott and it's Wilson. It's the 2 running games versus those 2 defenses. Israel, which team will be the X factor in this one?
Well, interestingly enough, I think it's going to be Russell Wilson and the passing game down the stretch for this reason. As you said, the rushing attacks for both teams going to keep it a slow game, going to keep it a close game. I have a lot more faith in Russell Wilson going down the field and winning.
Frank Isola?
The Seahawks defensive backs have been exposed at times, so if Ezekiel Elliott can't run, can they stop Dak Prescott? I think that's what it's going to come down to, the ball in Dak Prescott's hands.
So you've got Dallas. How about you, Bob Ryan?
I see Ezekiel Elliott channeling the ghost of Emmitt Smith, that famous playoff game years back when he ran for about 7 million yards. I got a gut
I don't know
feeling
exactly
that they're
which
gonna
playoff
score
game you're
enough
talking
points.
about, but they won a lot of playoff games with Emmitt Smith, so yeah.
I know where I was when I saw it. I was in New Orleans. So I know.
All right. And how about you, Bill Plaschke?
They're going to stack up against Elliott. Prescott's got to beat him. I don't think he can beat him. The Seahawks lead the league with 27 third down sacks. They're a remade defense. Everybody thinks their defense is different now. It's as good as it was before. Seattle wins with the defense.
Buy or sell 3, Chargers, Ravens. 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles, the Ravens flustered Phillip Rivers. Lamar Jackson passed for more yards than he ran, and Baltimore won. Sunday, The game is the early game on the East Coast. LA's biological clock is going to be ticking like 10 a.m. Do any of you think that has positive traction? Frank, you can answer that and tell me what the Chargers have to do differently this time around if they want to win.
It's not ideal, but need I remind you, they did win the best road game of the season, going into Kansas City and winning. They need to stop Baltimore's running game, try to get the young quarterback Lamar Jackson into 3rd and long, because they ran all over the Chargers the last time.
So that's the key to victory. Will they be able to do it?
I think they can. I like the Chargers all the way to the
All the way to the Super Bowl. How about you,
All
Bob
the way to the Super Bowl?
Yes, sir.
Philip Rivers is having he ended up a little poorly, but until week 15 or so, he's having one of his very, very best years. I think there's a lot of, not pressure so much as he's got to prove something in this game, and I think he will.
We had the stats yesterday, right? Philip Rivers, with this start, will tie the record for most starts without making the Super Bowl. Chargers fans want him to set that record and then have that record expunged if he makes the Super Bowl. Plashke, how about you?
You know, it's just about Lamar Jackson, I think. The Chargers shut him down on the ground when they played him the first time. He did a good job passing, but I think if they can, his first playoff game, the lights get him, I think a little bit overwhelming for him. If they get to Lamar Jackson, Chargers win this.
So you think Chargers win this game? You think the experience they have matters? Gutierrez, how about you?
Yes, Rivers.
I just think the Chargers need to protect Phillip Rivers. He got beat up in that last game, 4 sacks, I think 8 more hits on top of that, and that Baltimore defense is so difficult to read. If he gets an extra second to check the defense and scan the field, I think he can make some big plays. Otherwise, it's going to be the Ravens.
Point made that the Chargers had such a good record in the regular season, they're on the road. They've been basally on the road every game this year, right? Isn't that right, Plashke,
Yes,
in LA? Yeah.
Yes,
Although
they
that
have.
biological
without a helmet.
clock, 10 a.m. start, don't overlook that. Buy or sell 4,
Really not
Eagles,
fair.
Bears. I'll posit any result wouldn't surprise you here. If the Bears defense pitches a shutout, if Trubisky goes for 400, if Nick Foles has a perfect passer rating and paints the Sistine Chapel at midfield using his cleat, you all saw all of that coming, right? Bob, we've seen over and over Foles, what he can do when he's doubted. Are you doubting him Sunday in Chicago?
No, I'm not doubting him, but I think that anybody going up against this defense would going to be facing a very long, difficult, tedious game. So my point is this. Trubisky has to make sure he doesn't lose the game. Trubisky has to make sure that he doesn't do anything to harm the cause because they're going to have to score some points. They can't win 0-0. I don't care what the defense does. He's going to have to not mess things up.
Plashke.
You know, Foles is a great story. The Eagles are a great story. It ends here. This game, I think, is the most slam dunk lock of the weekend. The Bears have held opposing quarterbacks to the lowest QBR in the league this year. They're going to be all over Foles. Eagles don't have a chance.
Gutierrez?
I'm with Bob here. If Trubisky doesn't mess things up, and I'm not saying he's prone to, I'm just saying that they have the team that just needs a quarterback that's not going to make the mistake. So if he does that, I think the Bears win.
Isola.
Look what the Bears defense did to Jared Goff, what they did to Aaron Rodgers at home. The fact that they're in Chicago with that defense,
Kirk Cousins.
I'm not worried about
Or
it.
doubting Nick Foles again. All right, let the record show. Bill Plashke. Bob Ryan
We don't
going the wrong way. Gutierrez, Isola. That's our showdown next. Happy New Year, Israel.
Center more.
Last time you could wish somebody a Happy New Year.
It's simple. It's January 3rd. It's already passed.
Well, unhappy New Year to you. Happy New Year to Frank Isola. Showdown 1, the story from
Thank you. You
ESPNW, USA Basketball, mistakenly sending Morey Davenport a check after winning the FIBA America's Under-18 Championship. Now, the Rutgers recruit has been ruled ineligible for her senior season at her Alabama high school. It was a clerical error. USA Basketball admits this. What happens now, Israel?
Well, not only an admitted clerical error, but returned the money, which was what, $800 and something, and they're only supposed to can't get more than $250. Of course, it should all be revoked. Of course, she should be able to play her senior season, and this should all be moved along.
This will teach you to represent your country. What did she do wrong? It's not her fault. Let her play her senior season. All these places, high school, college, NCAA, you need a Department of Common Sense. Where is the common sense?
Department of Common Sense.
To be lacking.
Here's some common sense. You're both getting a point. What is it, 27 minutes past the hour? This has got to be changed by the start of PTI. We'll move on. Baylor 68, UConn 57. First regular season loss for the Huskies in 4 years, 126 games. So I ask again, Frank, what happens now?
You know, it's probably not the worst thing that they lost. Here's what I love about it's UConn women, the U.S. women's basketball team and soccer team. When they lose, it's an event. I'll tell you what, though, the AD and the president of UConn need to call Gino Auriemma REM
They
into their
just
office
start
and say,
over.
what
They
the heck's
just
the problem?
start a new streak. They finally had a bad shooting game. Finally, their worst shooting game in 20 years, and they lose. Oh, no. Everybody can have a bad game.
All right, so you both agree. Though Frank
Sky's
actually said the
falling.
words, a loss isn't a bad thing. Well, if that's the case, Frank, congratulations. Not a bad thing for you. But a win for Israel Gutierrez.
Not happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Iz.
Thank you, Frank. And this is probably going to annoy you, as it might annoy Bob as well. But if you saw the East All-Star votes, the first release yesterday, you saw the second leading vote getter amongst the East guards was Dwayne Wade, and Derrick Rose as well on the West, but that probably won't last. And it got me to wondering, do we want to see that? Do we want to see the ceremonial guy? Do we want to see him, Dwayne Wade in particular, or is he not big enough? I kind of want to keep it up there and see what people think.
All right, so you're
Definitely
polling here
all
now. Now
stars.
you're asking
Vote
for a
me.
poll. Do we want to see? Isn't the vote itself a poll? Aren't we learning that Dwayne?
I want LeBron to draft
Can't
him
take
first.
my win away.
LeBron's got to
Happy
draft
New Year,
him.
take my win away.
Hashtag paternity
Hey,
leave. That's all I got to
Happy
say about
New
it.
Year.
That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around. It's 71 and a half hour
Happy New
break.
Year, everybody.
Happy Friday, everyone.
See you Monday.